Boys and girls, welcome back to Fallout New Vegas Old World Blues. Last episode, we entered the Forbidden Dome. We confronted Dr. Mobius. He's just a silly, goofy, old brain in a robot skeleton. He's not really a threat to anybody, so we treated him as such. We were nice to him. We didn't end up fighting him. So now, the game plan is we're going to talk to our brain, see what he has to say, go back to the think tank, try to end that passively because we put in all the hard work to get the good endings for all the scientists, so they should be on our side. And then that should pretty well be the end of the DLC. So as we do, let's go talk to our brain.
I'm imagining all sorts of imaginary numbers right now.
Well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again?
Are you my brain?
Ah, lovely. Figured that out, have we? Would you like a cookie?
Why are you such a dick?
Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me, quote, dick, unquote. As if I'm the one responsible for the way you carry on gadding about the wastes. I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on missions of ill-conceived revenge. And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Do you think I enjoyed that little moment?
I mean, to be fair, the first option isn't wrong. He is partially responsible.
I most certainly am not. I'm the seat of all reason and logic in our little partnership. All those feelings that motivate you, that sense of righteousness and that rush you get when you help someone, do you know where those come from? Glands. They come from glands. Free of the tyranny of your ape-like and primitive endocrine system, I can see how foolish your motives are.
Medicine 55, but you're the source of most of those glands, unless you're arguing that my thyroid is to blame.
Well, look, it's all a very complex system of biofeedback and other things I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Except I did just understand it. That's why we had that little discussion. Admit it, you're just as glandular as I am.
Oh, all right. Perhaps I am, but at least I'm logical about it.
Don't you want to be reunited? I thought you'd be happy to get back in my head.
I'm not going to lie to you. The prospect is definitely not that appealing. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet, and safety. Well, barring the odd rogue scorpion. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you.
Too bad, I've got arms and you don't. You're coming with me. That's not how that works, I don't think. Yeah, let's try to be as logical as we can. I can see your point. What can I do to make this a fair compromise?
If you want me back, we need to establish some ground rules. First, showers! Second, regular checkups. Regular, mind you, and from a reputable doctor. That Julie Farkas woman, for example, she seems to know a thing or two. Third, you need to listen to me more than your hormonal choir and genitalian orchestra. Promise me that, and you've got a deal.
These two options have nothing to really do with what he just said, so I'm not gonna choose them? Fine, you got a deal.
Really? I didn't expect you to actually agree to that. I'm afraid that was a bit of a bluff, really. I'm not going with you.
See? Now those options make sense. First option's the best one, so what, you'd rather just stay here, never leaving that tank of whatever that stuff is?
Well, certainly there might be some things I miss about being ambulatory. We have seen some incredible sights, haven't we? Jason Bright and his followers launching into the vast unknown. Helios 1 coming back online. But still, given the tremendous, potentially life-ending peril that went along with those, yes, I'd rather stay here.
Speech 75, isn't it just as true that you're only feeling this way because you're lacking those hormones?
I suppose you're right. That does call certain assumptions into question, doesn't it?
So we're at an impasse. You can't feel what I feel, and I can't think the way you think.
Indeed, quite the conundrum. How do you suppose we resolve it?
I think we have to trust each other and acknowledge that we aren't complete if we're separated.
I suppose there might be some advantage to that, yes. There's a chance that the reintegration would create some improved synergy between us.
So what do you say, Brain? Join me for some more wild adventures?
Well, I suppose you've convinced me well enough. I'll rejoin your body if that's your final decision. Unfortunately, before we get to that stage of the proceedings, we have a problem. Even if I could settle myself back in your skull and reconnect all those pesky nerve endings, Dr. Mobius doesn't have the tools here. We would have to make use of Dr. Klein's lab, and I rather doubt the brains are inclined to share.
I mean, it's been pretty obvious, even if you haven't played the DLC before, that the brains have been using you since you first got here. That's not really a secret, so option 1 is kind of a duh, and I don't think there's other options, so nope, let's go make them share. Come on, Brain, it's stomping time.
Oh, lovely. We've reached the mindless violence portion of the program. Tell me, what exactly are you, and I use the word loosely, planning?
Okay, just because I check one of these options, I don't think it's gonna force me to go into the think tank guns blazing, so I'm gonna do gun 75. I'm gonna give them a demonstration of physics behind small, fast-moving chunks of lead.
Now that you mention it, I do miss that lovely rat-a-tat-boom a bit. It's just not the same without a body to feel the recoil. What's the next step, then?
If the think tank won't hold up their bargain, we'll make them. Let's go.
Right. Look out, think tank. This brain is coming out of its jar. I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meaty parts the think tank took from us. Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But now that I'm with you, the Sync's autodock can plug them back in no problem. Right then, off we go. Klein will be in for a nasty shock when he realizes the pacification field won't work on a mind and body reunited.
Alright, confront Dr. Klein at the think tank, and end the imprisonment of Big Mountain. Mobius is singing the same song he sang about 4 times since I've started recording, and then let's head out and head back. I'll take ammo. I will take more ammo. How did I miss all these ammo boxes and footlockers on the way in? Oh, well. Yeah, that's a theme in this building. That is definitely a theme in this building where I just keep falling. Let's go up here. Before we dip, let's go in here. I have not been in this room because obviously force field's still up. What's in here? Proton axe, if you're into that. First aid kit. Rad-X. Rad-Away. Empty microfusion and energy cells. Alright, this is the room that has the medical supplies in it. Alright, I'm glad I came in here. I could have lived without not coming in here, though. And then just because I don't remember if I was in this room either, let's check this one out. There just may not... Oh, no, there's ammo boxes. And... false grenades in this room. Turret control system requires key. Interesting. I guess not that it matters for me, because I've already done the fight, but I guess I'm sure if you look hard enough, you'll find the password for this terminal. I'm sure it has to be in this room somewhere. I just don't know where. I'm also, kinda sure that by the time you would have found it during the actual fight, you would have either been dead, or, deactivating the turrets may not have mattered at all. Yep, who knows? Not me. However, as I was walking around looking through the rest of the loot, there's a guy right there we'll check out in a second, but there is the emergency shutdown terminal password holotape. So, we found that one. But what do you have, brother? You have a duffel bag with 16 bullets in it. That's unfortunate. It's probably why you didn't last very long. Yeah, so that password was right there, so I'm assuming if you continue to look around, you'll find the turret password too? I just don't know where it would be without actually exploring the entire room, which I don't really want to do. But let's head out and fast travel back to base. Alright, so I'm back in the sink. I'm putting body parts back in. We got the cardiac arrest perk. Your heart is back in your body, but some advanced technologies remain. You are less resistant to poison. 50% of robots are only somewhat confused by you. 25% less likely to score a critical hit now. But on the bright side, healing items chems are twice as effective, plus 50%. Reinforced spine perk. Your spine is back in your body, but some advanced technologies remain. Your torso can now be crippled again, but your strength is... and damage threshold bonuses have doubled +2. And I don't think I would need anything else. So let's head down and talk to the boys. See if they're happy to see me. Dr. Klein awaits. Make sure you're prepared to finish this once and for all. Everything has changed colors. What's up, guys? Am I not close enough? Oh, it's not like the first time? What's up?
The lobotomite returns. Our lobotomite. Has Dr. Mobius been denominated into scrap metal and voice module parts, as we hoped?
I found my brain. Now you and I are gonna settle things.
I recommend watching your tone with me, lobotomite. Now, your brain. Hand it over, or we'll extract it again.
I'm not handing my brain over. There's some things we should discuss.
And what could we possibly have to speak about? You have the brain, we have the technology. All you must do is surrender. With it, we can finally leave this place. I cannot tell you how boring this place gets, chopping up the landscape and everything in it. And we have so many questions to ask your brain first. About this Mojave place. A fertile testing ground for our experiments.
I mean, whatever, as long as it doesn't lead to violence. Speech 75, lie. You think I am the lobotomite? No, for my skull houses the brain of Mobius.
That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. There's no way Mobius would condescend to step inside you. Besides, there's no way such a thing could be accomplished. It's impossible.
And this is where investing in science will pay off. Science 100. Nothing is impossible for science. Mesons, lasers, atoms, brainwaves, all are at my command.
You speak the truth. And the decibel variation in your voice, it is Mobius. How dare you breach the think tank? And what do you want here?
I offer a deal. Stay here. Stay put. In heel, I'll let you live.
That's no deal at all. There's a whole world beyond the crater, filled with ideas and possibilities. We could have escaped, seen it all for ourselves, tested it, prodded at it, made it squirm.
I will permit you to do this for me.
Partner with you? My foe? My rival? My foremost critic? I have a strange sensation that I would like that. How odd. Very well, partner. The think tank is at your service as long as you do not destroy us.
Confront Dr. Klein to the think tank and end your imprisonment at Big Mountain. So, that was one way to do it. It's probably the best way to do it. The only thing that might come up as a problem later is that, you know, like, Dr. Mobius never agreed to that. Maybe I shouldn't have talked to the one that can't speak.
The lobotomite who saved us.
Okay, so do any of them have interesting new dialogue?
The teddy bear lobotomite returns. My teddy bear.
So is Mobius as twisted as he looked in person? Can't believe you entered the Forbidden Zone and lived. None of us can.
Thank you for what you have done. The helping, that is. We like that. I feel an odd emotion. Platitude? Attitude? No, wait. Gratitude. That's it.
Okay, aside from the initial dialogues, whenever you enter the conversations with them, no, there's no new dialogue. So, once we leave the think tank, I'm pretty sure we get a cutscene movie.
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others, which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future of all mankind.
The courier had scoured much of the Big Empty, although secrets still remained in the crater's depths. Perhaps that was for the best, however. Curiosity, while sometimes rewarded for its efforts, often proves to be equally dangerous.
Dr. Mobius continued his research undisturbed in the Forbidden Zone. As much as he had attempted to create better scorpions, he tried the same with humanity, with considerably less success. These failures didn't bother him overmuch. Once the rush of mentats wore off, he forgot he had failed in any event. After all, the bright young mind who had come to visit him in the Forbidden Zone had already exceeded his expectations.
The sink atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The biological research station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magneto-hydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the Big Empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean. Once it learned of the innovative toxins plant, however, it gained new purpose. It sought to develop antitoxins to flush into its drains and counteract the poisons bleeding into the soil.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other Sync personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy, except he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind-eye old Jefferson eventually discovered a new sound. Silence. It only made him more filled with the blues than before. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre were bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt warm, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after the stealth suit had left it without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
The courier, organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be. After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to their own thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
Dr. Klein and the think tank remained alive, unaware of the world outside. They looped through their daily routine, none the wiser about the world beyond, although perhaps wiser was the wrong word. The world outside belonged to the courier, and if anyone would shape it, well, the courier had already called dibs.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, Old World Blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone.
You have lost the brainless perk. Big-brained perk. Your brain is back in your body, but some of the advanced technologies remain. Your head still cannot be crippled, but you were only 10... Did I read that right? Your head still cannot be crippled. Okay, I did. But you were only 10% more resistant to addiction now. Surprisingly, your damage threshold has improved by 10%, minimum plus 1 DT. Okay, cool. You've acquired the Big Mountain Transportable Ponder. It is capable of transporting you and you alone between the Mojave Wasteland and the Big Mountain. To return to the Mojave, go back to Big Mountain to the Mojave, simply equip the Transportable Ponder. It's fast travel, but it's a gun that takes me specifically here. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so even though we completed the main quest-ish part of Old World Blues, I don't think we're done with this DLC just yet, because if we come into our quest, we have the rest of the field research quest, which is we have to find the rest of the seeds for this guy, and I also want to explore the places on the map that I have not been yet, just to check them out and just to thoroughly complete this DLC. And also, during the last slide of the end slideshow, they said that I had one road left to do. That's talking about Lonesome Road. I don't think the game realizes that I haven't done only that DLC yet. I think just in the order the DLCs were released, this one came before that one, so they're just assuming that you played them in order when they released a decade ago, and that next you'd be doing Lonesome Road whenever it would have released. But that is what it is. That is the main quest once again for this DLC complete. But like I said, next episode we'll probably be back just to finish off the rest of the DLC, air quotes. But hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like and sub down below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode of Pizza.